I think, and I will ask you about this afterwards, but coming into this race, so you were third in Lucerne, did I hear?
Yeah, I was third in Lucerne, yeah.
Yeah, and then you were sixth at the World Championships the year before.
Sixth at the World Championships in Barrington, yeah. So
Yeah.
we were kind of, I was actually in fifth, I think, and I hit a boy in the last 100 meters or something, yeah, and I kind of completely,
Yeah.
wiped out, but yeah, that was Barrington.
Does it surprise you seeing yourself now, like in
Yeah,
this?
I've watched this. I'm not joking, Claire. By the way, I've had my, I brought my crisps. Okay, as a kind of, I was going to bring popcorn, but so I haven't watched. I've watched this. I'm not joking you, about 5-6 times in all.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
And it's
I
always
haven't, yeah.
with somebody else or some occasion around. I very rarely watch it, So
Yeah. No, I totally get you. I haven't watched back my even our races from Rio, and
really
something to do, yeah, at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose.
So these are some characters.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about who you're lining up against.
So yeah, Brian Trainer, the Americans, very little of. The German was he was second in Lucerne, obviously myself. The big names was Wim van Bellingen, Ernst Moore, who had won Lucerne, and Franz Goebel, who was a very eccentric doctor. So we're just kicking off now. See that?
Yeah.
Are you kicking off?
Yeah, and your man, the German, jumps out right in front.
Yeah,
Faster.
Ulrich was always quick out, and I used to match him a bit. I remember distinctly. There was just don't hammer it. Normally, actually, I'm at this point. You'll see I'm about maybe fourth or something, and normally I was really a lot quicker out than that, and I actually made a conscious effort to go out a bit slower, a bit softer, get into my rowing better, the kind of way. Normally I was just hammer and try to get out. But I was actually, to be honest, at this point, normally I would be ahead at 250, but I'm a little bit behind. So this was the kind of relaxed, calm kind of.
But that didn't panic you, or would you say, like, was that the plan here? It didn't panic you, or
no? You know what? I was sculling so well. Now it doesn't particularly look like I'm sculling that well in comparison to some of the guys, but I was sculling really well all that week, and I was just really flowing. Really nice entry. I was. Do you know what, Claire? I was a very front-ended sculler. I was really used to hammer the catch, and it's something that I worked in training camp to be a lot softer on the front end and really building through the phases. And it's something that I really, really nailed that week. Yeah. And sometimes when you're a big front-ended sculler, you tend to be out quick, and then you whatever. But it's hard to go from that front-ended sculler to a kind of a little bit more gentle at the catch, if you know what I mean. You feel a little both speeds. So, but I had kind of nailed it at that point. And so here we have. I was going well. This is Franz Goebel. So Franz Goebel was an absolute hero of mine, and I only ever saw him. I only ever saw his stern up to this year, up to 91, and but he was really eccentric. And this was, I suppose, the lightweight single was the kind of pinnacle of. There was no Olympic rowing at the time. The lightweight single was all the headbangers went, and he was certainly one of the headbangers. An absolute fantastic technician. As you can see, lovely fluid sculler, and
but he looks a bit upset there. I would say.
I was upset.
He looks a bit surprised. He's like taking a long look.
Yeah, with a long look there. Already.
So at this point, would you have felt like this is where I should be in the race, or were you further along than you thought you would be? Or
yeah, I mean, this was. What I really did was I just built on that early momentum. I really stayed on it a little longer than the rest of them. Sorry, I'm looking here. Okay, I really stayed on that a little longer, and I just really cruised away. I was surprised I was out. If I'm honest, you'll see all the commercial. If you see all the commercial.
I was going to ask, who's on the bank?
Yeah, all the characters in commercial. They all went over. So you know them all. There were some legends there.
And who was the coach on the bank?
And Bermo. Mick Desmond was the coach. Obviously, Mick was a huge influence on my career, so he was fantastic. This is Van Bellingen. Van Bellingen was a tough not a particularly nice sculler. Really, really tough, and used to love to play games with me. You know, the kind of way I used to, you know, think he was kind of some kind of like was getting into my head. So he was always kind of just actually slagging me off, like openly, you know, the kind of way, on the water, off the water. Whenever he could have a dig, he'd have a dig at me, you know, that kind of way. And of course, these were my heroes, you know. So
Yeah.
there was
So there was good like camaraderie off the water. Off the water, you would talk to them in the boat park and
not
that sort of
not
thing,
not
or
particularly, not particularly. We weren't good, weren't looked pretty young there. It wasn't a particularly.
yeah,
So yeah, no, I was moving on nicely. I wouldn't say I was the sweetest sculler ever, Claire. You probably know I was probably a bit more agricultural than most, but I was moving along really, really nicely. Bellingham had a the Belgian guy had a very, very good second half, and he pushed on. He caught me up a little bit there at the 1,000-meter mark, and I remember distinctly as this race goes on. I remember, okay, I know this guy is going to come really, really hard in that last 500 meters. And he kind of little overlapped me, if I can remember, or was certainly pushed on to overlap me. And I really turned on the afterburners just to get away so we weren't into the scrap. Actually, it's happening there now.
yeah.
Going through the 750, I said, I'm gonna really, really push away here. I don't want to give this guy a sniff, because he gets a sniff, he gets on my stern, he's Johnny Carp building momentum. I was in really, really good nick. We had an amazing camp in St. Moritz before, so I was in really, really good nick.
And talk about the earlier stages of the competition, like your heat, your semi-final. Where were you coming out of them into this final?
So I won all my heats, and but by quite a distance. It's actually funny, and the commentary says it's actually funny what. So they're pushing. Jesus, I'll have to give more. So this is where Bellingham kind of pushes, and I give a little kick on. The funny thing is, the commentary, and actually people said, listen, if I had been a tailwind, people knew I was a bit front endy. You know, if I had been a headwind, I may have not won. And in actual fact, Vienna was a binary course. It was either massive headwind or massive tailwind. All week, it was a massive headwind. And I was smashing people by 5 and 10 seconds. And, you know, actually, I think I won the semi-final 10 seconds quicker than the other final in 8 minutes or something. So there was a huge headwind all week. And actually, so I was in good head.
You felt confident either way, really.
Yeah, I think that's just the last kind of. I remember blowing out a little bit of.
Oh yeah, the guy. Someone makes a good comeback just towards the end, but almost.
Yeah, Ulrich, big comeback, but you'll see in my stroke rate there wasn't any big wind. Like I'm certainly not on power, so there's no big wind. So I'm actually new. I have a quick look over my head. I knew like there's no wind there. I'm kind of actually. I'm at 34, 30, whatever it is. I knew that he was running out of space. I knew he wasn't gonna get me at that point. You know, that kind of way. It looks tighter than it actually was. And that time was pretty good for a very long time.
Absolutely. So remind us now, what age are you here?
21 there, yeah.
21, yeah. I see you're sponsored by Texaco, so you're rolling in it, were you?
Oh, I was absolutely. It was the gravy train back then.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah, it's all. It was blinging it up. Yeah, so.
What support had you got from Texaco?
I think I had about. I remember the money. It was. I think it was 5. It was big money actually. It was big money. I think. Do you know what happened? I got very little. I got about $2,000. Coming up to the World Championships or in that period, but then I got it. And then when I won the World, so I couldn't possibly disclose, but it was bigger money than $2,000, and it kept me going. I mean, it was back then. It was a different. It was a very, very different time back then.
Absolutely.
But it was
no funding from Sport Ireland, I suppose, at that point.
I was very funding. You know, I mean, I might put it down. So, but. I'm distracted by myself. There was funding. I mean, it wasn't as people as we like to think, but it was funding. But it was. I mean, the gap was as much information and training in a vacuum and all of that stuff that you probably don't have now. You know, that kind of way. So no, it was a great race. I remember Lord of Mercy, and you know my dad, Jimmy from the club. I mean, the favourite, my best memory, and it's as clear as day. You nearly get emotional today thinking about it. Like, and that's such a long time ago. I remember him shouting out, "Go for goal," and nobody really had an idea that I was really going to win. You know, that kind of way. I was doing good form, but there were so many barriers between an Irish rower actually winning any type of medal. We've done so little in the sport. So I remember my dad shouting those words, and they live with me today. It's really quite emotional even thinking about it, because he was, you know him, Claire, from the club. He was a bit of a legend around the place. Great guy. So that was a very, very nice moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so who were your training partners at that point? Because rightly so, you were the first to win a world championship. So, you know, you didn't have someone to follow in the footsteps of, to even probably inspire you to win a world championship. Who were your training partners, or was it just you and Mick at this time in the single?
Yeah, I mean, we had Lara Collins and a few people in Dublin. I mean, Mick was an amazing coach, you know, and Mick put me into systems. So I joined Mick when I was about 18. I think I was 17 or 18, and Mick was very good at understanding that there was, respectfully to everybody who had gone before, and a massive respect to all the clubs and all the legendary clubs and Neptune and Guards especially, and Sean Dre. But there was very, very little knowledge in the country, and Mick was very good at actually reaching out to countries like the Belgians, like the Italians, and putting me into systems and letting me learn. Again, it was a massive vacuum. I mean, if you think of the Irish rowing as an experience curve, I was definitely the fuzzy end where we were kind of, you know, winning and losing, trying to define what actually well, yeah,
what was that, or
everything, how to set up a boat. Like there was very little information pre the internet as well. Jesus. So it's definitely the fuzzy end of that, kind of like hitting performances and having good performance, having bad performances. And yeah, so really got a lot. We really worked hard. We really pushed hard. I mean, I would say I was probably one of the first people to train twice a day at that time, you know, and that was not heard of, you know, that kind of way. And I've always almost looked down upon, you know, that you're quick because you have time to train, you know, that kind of way. It's really, really hard to understand the mentality back then. It was very, very amateurish, respectfully, and to everybody who'd gone before. So we really seeked out. I mean, I was a bit of a nomad in Europe. I'd hop from one country to the next, training in systems. And back then, Claire, I don't want to go. We were. I mean, Tor got involved in Irish rowing because we were a developing country, Tor and Wilson, and we were a developing country, and we used to go to training camps as developing nations with different developing nations. It's remarkable to think of that trajectory over time. But so it was all different people, different countries, and so
was there one role model though, Ben, maybe outside of Ireland, that you said like saw win that world championship, or that you were following through the races that might have inspired you? Or
well, I mean, I was like I very early on in the previous year, 1990, I met Mick Desmond. Couldn't go to the World Championships in Lake Barrington. His wife was having Claire at the time, his daughter, first child. And I met with Sean Dre, and Sean went to the World Championships with me. And like, that was a very, very important moment in my career, because I was a terribly nervous kid, you know. And Sean really was brilliant at normalizing all of those nerves. I think one of the biggest vacuums when you're training in this vacuum, you know, and you'll have, you know, all of the world champions that we have, everybody gets nervous. Everybody is terrified. But when you don't have access to that information about how nervous you get and how built up, and you see the Germans winning and whatever, and they think these are cold characters, you know, that kind of way. Sean put all through that, and he said he used to get very nervous. He used to talk about Karpinen and Colby and all of these people who would be violently ill before a race, puking up the nerves. And once I spent time with Sean Dre, and he normalized that for me and say, actually, this is okay. I'm not nervous just because I'm Irish. I'm just because, just because I don't know. This is the normal process. And Sean normalized a lot of that stuff for me. And he was my real touch point into kind of that, to get out of that vacuum, not from a training point of view, but from to just understand the mentality is the same. We're all the elite athletes struggle with nervousness.
That's so spot on. And I not to deflect, but I remember Martin Feely telling me about going out for just a national championship, and he was like, you're going to pick up that boat and you'll feel like it's as heavy as it's ever been, and you'll start thinking you're not strong, but it's just your mind trying to stop you doing what it's about to do, but you're still well capable of doing it. And yeah, I think it's normalizing those feelings as you prepare for a race. No, it's spot on.
You're right, and I think that's the great thing about the National Lung Centre is that you can tap into all of those kind of, that terrifying experience of going through the week of a world championship, the kind of way, and all of the stuff that, that imagine how your imagination takes over and keeping a lid on that week. It's a very, very difficult week we're talking about the world championship, to keep a lid on your energy levels, because you're getting so much data from everywhere, and it's so much to worry about, that kind of way. And it's like rowing, it's just 7 minutes at the end of the year, and everything else doesn't matter. And so there was no European Championships or anything like that back then. So that was it. The next chance was 360 days later, to stew on it and think about it and make it better. But it is that normalization, Claire, isn't it? You know what that's like. And I think that's the biggest thing for young athletes, and that's the great thing not to train in a vacuum, that kind of way.
Have those conversations, coaches, other athletes that have done it before.
Totally. Been on the bank.
And what would you say? So, going into that race, you were 6th at the World Championships the year before, and you were 3rd in Lucerne, so beaten by other guys in that final. So, were you going in then to the final here at the World Championships and feeling, I'm going out to win this? And did you have the confidence that you were going to win it?
I think,
where was your head?
I had 2 big races that were kind of big for me. The under-23 World Championships, we used to be called the Match to Senior, so I'd won those, so I knew what it was like to have the expectation to win, and I understood that I couldn't, I understand that I needed to be relaxed within that. The question was, did I?
Your mentality.
And going back to this time, I from a very, very early age, my biggest aspiration was to get a medal at the World Championships, and if I had done that, my not only my rowing career would have been successful, my whole life would have been successful if I had a bronze medal at the World Championships. And like in 1986 at the World Championships in Nottingham, I remember legging it down the last 500 meters, watching Peter Anthony beat Bernard Eltang in a lightweight final by like a bell ball, and to think that I could be even in a final or be anywhere close to those people was like just a different planet. And so I think that stays with you. That doesn't suddenly. And from my point of view, I'm honest, any type of medal on the day would have been fantastic for me. And
so then what gave you the spur to not let the guys go through you in the last 500, or did you just feel that in the race, actually there must have been a point then when you said, no, actually I'm going to win this, I'm not going for silver or bronze?
Yeah, I think firstly I made a very, very clear determination this week was to control myself. I said, okay, I'm not going to worry or think about anybody else, and I really continued that theme right the way to the final. I don't really think I was aware of people around me, but I was really, I said, I'm just going to go as fast as I can. I'm just going to go as fast as I can. I'm not even going to look up. And there was that really, I think you'd probably see in that clip, you'll probably see me turning my head for the first time in the last 500 meters. So I was really, really determined to focus on myself and just go as fast as I can, as I possibly could, and get to the end and see where I was. You're right. When I said, "Jeez, I'm going to win this thing," I got a terrible fright. I said, "Jeez, what this can't be happening." And it nearly kind of says, "Well, it's firstly, am I worthy?" And it's too early, and it's like I nearly almost kind of hesitated a little bit in that last 250 meters, because it was such a big thing back then.
And it's still a big thing now. Like,
no, it was such a big thing. Well, I'm overstating it, but it felt like different world stuff,
Yeah.
And
but that's really like key point there, that you went out just to go as fast as you can, and you were so unfocused on the results to only have that realization towards the end, to only be thinking about this is a world championship and what that meant at the end of the race. And I think it's so important, but also probably something that you kind of need to practice nearly as you go along. It's very hard to go into your final of the world championship and say, "Oh, I just won't be aware of anybody else." But I don't know whether
this is the big thing. If you're focusing on, you have to focus on those small moments. And if you're overly aggressive or overly focused on getting to the line first, kind of way is a distraction. For me, performance is about being in those moments, focused in those moments, and not being distracted about even your boat speed. That kind of way. It's just about executing every single stroke to go as quickly as you can, and then you find yourself, actually, this is, this makes the boat go quicker. I think. And I think from my point of view, what I really nailed that week was, didn't really worry about the result that much. I was just focused on boat speed, making the boat run, making the boat move, really relaxed, actually, amazingly relaxed in hindsight, and really, really focused on those moments of boat speed that really, really, really helped me. And I think that's for any young athlete, that kind of way. It's not to get overly focused on, I need to be there, I need to get you need to focus on those little building blocks, those little moments of, thinking about the entry point, thinking about the finish, thinking about the run, there's so much things you can think about that will help your boat speed, as opposed to getting, tense and nervous and saying, I must make this,
And what did that, so after that World Championship, what did that mean then for your own career over the next few years? What was next?
Really unfortunate, actually. Again, first through the wall as always gets a bit bloody, So I got really ill that winter. I got hepatitis, which really nailed me for about 2 years after that. I gave a kind of foothold to a guy called Peter Haining, who kind of dominated the sport. I got a medal in. I bounced around. I had 1 or 2 fourths, and then there was the medal in Indianapolis, which was a great medal, because Peter Haining took the lightweight sculling to a new level. He was based in Hong Kong, and he was super professional, and he kind of dominated for at least 3 seasons after that. And again, I was still bouncing around trying to find what success was. And I think we read that article about the boys in '96. I think we were all in the period of the 90s trying to work this thing out, and we were doing our best, but we were sporadic at best,
Yeah, it's quite interesting, when you actually think about it back to then, of like, almost you had to kind of write the book of like how it should be done, whereas now we almost have like an excess of information between videos and online resources and everything else, and it maybe can take away from the simplicity of what it is that you're trying to do, really.
I think the National Rowing Centre has been a great kind of evolution where you have all of this concentration of all that information. But yeah, we were very we were very naive. We were trying everything. We were training probably harder than we should have. When I was there, it was like, again, how do you eat? What do you eat? All of that stuff as a lightweight was really, really critical.
Yeah.
But we were kind of making it up as we went along,
what about so coming into a world championship or the world championship in 91, what was would you have a key session, a key training session that you felt really like you finished and felt like this I'm ready for racing now? Or
Yeah, I
was
remember
it a combination of the months coming into it?
we had a great camp in St. Moritz, and we were training with the Aussies at the time. This before the Aussies became the, maybe a little tiny bit, and the Australians, I love Australia, but a little bit more arrogant than as they built. But this
You
was
weren't as confident then, no?
yeah, confidence is the word. But these were the surfer Aussies back in the day,
Yeah.
who were like chill. So
Chill.
yeah, that there was a pre-success Aussie, and we were training with the Aussies in St. Moritz. We had a brilliant camp, and very, very kind of focused, very, very good camp. And I remember coming back to Bleston Lake, and I remember it being, and I remember Mick Desmond had to go off and do some work or something, and Mickey O'Brien was out, and we did some thousands and 50, and the lake was absolutely unbelievable. Like there wasn't a ripple in it for about a whole week, and we got some great sessions, with 500s and thousands, and they were ripping. But from my point of view, I mean, if I look at my career, like I loved the erg, because the erg was the only thing that we could actually look at, say, actually we are comparison to other people. So I used to go on the erg and just rip it, because that was the only data I had. So I was brilliant at half an hours. I loved half an hours. I loved hours. I loved an hour and a half. All of that stuff I got up in, because when you're so far removed from world-class athletes, but you have an idea where you are within the physiology, I loved the rowing machine, because that was my only gateway into what I felt was where was I in comparison to somebody else.
Yeah.
So I mean so the air became a real kind of comfort blanket for me.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
I could smash on the air, and then you could say, actually, well, I'm comparative. I'm at least as good as everybody else, and that was really, really significant, that kind of way. And so I loved the half an hours. I love any on a razor, on a razor's edge for as long as you can. I love that. And so yeah, well, that was the
but I totally agree. It's like I find it was always like a couple of key sessions where you could say like, oh, I clearly am this fit or have this strength, or where you can build your almost toolbox of confidence. And for you, because you weren't surrounded by other people, you weren't getting prognostics or that sort of thing. The erg was where you could get that. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think all of that kind of, your training is your confidence, that kind of way. When you're training well and you have all of the data, you're writing your diary, and that gives you the confidence to perform. And and a key part of that data set, if you like, is the erg and how good you are on it. And it's also great mentally as well to it gives you that depth in terms of that, you don't have the same technical liability in the single, where you're always on the edge, and you're always trying to sitting is like, am I dragging my finish, whatever, or am I too hard? In the machine, you can just like forget about everything and just rip it, and it tends to be a bit less more agricultural. So
spot on. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. You're a star.